what a nice normal day. It's really normal, nothing weird to think about, just gotta think about what the next Agents Unchained video is. Nothing too strange, nothing too difficult, Hey guys, and welcome back to Agents Unchained, the show where I break down the basic fundamentals of an agent so that you don't become the quintuple negative first time on my Immo 3 promo match ever again. So you already know the agent that we're doing? We're doing Deadlock today, and typical disclaimer, this series isn't aimed at teaching the basic fundamentals of Valorant, but rather the specific agents and help you get into playing an agent without throwing hours and hours and hours into that agent and still not being able to learn what they do. Also, a reminder, this video is split up into 4 sections, those being abilities, abilities usage, playstyle, and goals per round, which should all be stamped in the timeline below. So, onto the abilities. So as with every agent, Deadlock has 3 basic abilities and an ultimate, no passive this time. The abilities include Barrier Mesh, Sonic Sensor, Gravnet, and Annihilation. So starting with Barrier Mesh is Deadlock's signature ability, meaning you get this one free every single round and you get 1 charge of it each time. Clicking this ability equips you with a projectile in which you can throw, and when you throw it and it hits a viable ground surface, it expands in 4 vertical directions from the main area, and after 3 seconds it fully solidifies. Prior to solidifying, the main area in the center and each smaller node will have half the HP that it would usually do if it was fully solidified, so that being 680 for the main center area of it, each node being 320, and this makes it obviously easier to break. However, post solidifying it will receive its full HP, which again being the center is 1200 and each node having 570. Also, once solidified, each line leading towards the center node extends a transparent blue barrier upwards, which can be shot through, but it doesn't allow anybody to cross through it. It's important to note that breaking the node will only break that line of the barrier, however breaking the central area of the entire barrier mesh will break the entire barrier. But of course it'll take a different amount of ammo to break each part of the barrier, since the smaller nodes have less HP but only break parts of the barrier rather than the center having more HP but breaking the entire thing at once. Outside of that, the only things to note is that each node is 10 meters long at the maximum, and the wall lasts for 30 seconds, including the time to solidify, and after 25 seconds it'll begin to decay, which makes it lose its HP slowly over time for that last 5 seconds until it breaks away and destroys fully. So moving on to Sonic Sensor, this is a trip that Deadlock can put down onto wall surfaces only. It costs 200 credits per round, you can have 2 of them maximum each round, and it has no activation range, meaning that you like Killjoy and like Chamber, you have to be in a certain area for their abilities to be online. For Deadlock, this isn't the case, you don't have to be in a certain radius for these trips to be on. And when an opponent crosses it using full sound, so like full sprinting or using movement abilities like dashing through it or sprinting through it, it will activate a area stun in the direction it's facing, stunning anyone in the area for 3.5 seconds. However, do note that the Sonic Sensor does not activate and stun anyone if they shift walk past it. It is sound dependent, as it says in the name, so sound is what makes it stun. This is also good to remember because there are other certain things that also make the tripwires activate because of it being sound, so it's good to know it as it's sound that activates it rather than like players running. So the stun area is 9 meters long in the direction it's facing, 8 meters wide, being 4 meters on each side of the sensor, and only 2 meters in depth, and it takes 1.75 seconds to activate, and after placing it down you can freely pick it up whenever you're close to it or in range of line of sight. You can pick it up, and obviously picking up a trip doesn't move it into the next round, doesn't save it, but you can replace them. So as I mentioned earlier, there are a few specific scenarios where Sonic Sensor can be tripped, but not by a player. So these being stuff like Gecko's Wingman, Yoru Clone, Yoru in his ultimate, and Gecko Thrash. I believe Reina Dismiss can also trip it if you're in the Dismiss form. Obviously it doesn't stun Reina, it also doesn't stun Yoru when he's in his ult, but it sets them off. Skydog should also set it off. I believe Fade Prowlers also set it off. Sova Drone I think also sets it off. So this is why I said earlier, the good way to think about it is that it's sound that sets it off rather than players, because other things that create sound also set it off. But that being said, Yoru TP, Omen TP, if Jett updraft dashes over it, they don't set it off. It's only in that area if noise is made that it will set off. So moving on to Gravnet, this is DEADLOCK's grenade type ability, which costs 200 credits per round. She gets one charge of this at most per round. And one thing I forgot to mention when it came to Clove's Q medal, which if you haven't seen the previous episodes and want to, they are all saved in a playlist on the channel, and it should be linked in the description below. Medal can also affect teammates, so the same thing applies to DEADLOCK's Gravnet and also her sonic sensors. Like I forgot to mention with Medal in the first Agents of Gen video. So this can affect allies, and what it does is it's quite a long radius. I'll get onto the specifics in a second, but in the area of effects that it has, it will force everybody into a crouching state who can't use abilities to get out of, and it also slows you by 70%. So basically you're just stuck in one area unless you have a teleport ability, because teleports do let you move out of that range and wherever you want to teleport to, but it doesn't remove the effect. That being said, Jett Updraft, Jett Dash, Reina Dismiss, they do not let you escape the area. I think Jett Dash at most lets you go onto the outer edge of the actual like Gravnet's effect area, but other than that you can't updraft. It has full gravity, you can't updraft, you can't dismiss out of it, you have to remove it, and by removing it you basically get an indefinite prompt that takes 1.5 seconds of you putting your gun away and breaking the net to be able to get out of the effect. If you don't do it, you will be affected the entire round. It's infinite. It does not go away, it is infinite, so you have to remove it. It's a very good ability, so you have to remove it like that. So the last thing to note is that the area effect's actual distance is 8 meters in a radius, so it's a circular area and it's 8 meters radius, so it's a very long or very big range. So yeah, like I said, it's a very big range, and it also can affect you through walls. So be careful when you're throwing your Gravnet and you're next to the wall where you want to catch somebody, because it will also catch you and then you can't obviously like shoot them. So be careful, it can catch you through walls, it can catch allies through walls, it catches anybody in the area. And like I said, the same thing applies to the sonic sensors, except the sonic sensors don't set off when a teammate crosses it or when an ally's like ability crosses it. It only sets off with enemies, but the stun area is obviously a stun area, so be careful because it can also stun allies when it does set off. And then finally Annihilation, which is DEADLOCK's ultimate. It requires 7 total orb points, and when activated she basically equips a mod in her bionic arm and she grants one shot for 10 seconds. This shot fires out a blue beam that bounces off one surface total, and after travelling the rest of the distance expands into a 6.5 meter radius sphere and captures one target at the maximum in that area. If there's multiple in that area, I'm not really sure how it prioritizes who it catches. I'm assuming it's whoever's closest to the center of the sphere, but I'm not actually really sure. But it does catch one person at least if there's multiple in that area, so just, it catches somebody at least. But after capturing a target, they basically get cocooned and they can't see, they can't move, they can't shoot, they can't open map, they can't do anything, they can't see anything. All they see is blue, and they will slowly over 7 seconds travel the path that the beam took from DEADLOCK until it reaches the position that she had shot it from initially, and upon reaching that spot successfully, trapped opponent just instantly dies. No matter what HP value they're at, they just die. So the important notes on this is that it cannot affect allies. It can also be trapped by certain environments and ledges, causing it to break, so the opponent can get out of it if it traps itself on a ledge or something. There's, you know, certain environments just like stop it moving, and then after the second seconds they get out. Also, opponents can shoot out their trapped ally from the cocoon. It has 600 HP total, so it takes an entire mag, which is a lot, but it will break them free if they're shot out of it without them dying. DEADLOCK's allies, however, cannot break them out. And finally, the ultimate beam has a total range of 40 meters, so meaning that including the bouncing, it will just only travel 40 meters. So if you use it 10 meters before it bounces, it'll travel the rest 30 meters after the bounce in the direction it's bouncing off of. So, you know, you gotta keep that in mind and try and like on the fly calculate it, because you gotta do some trigonometry, you know, type of thing here. So pretty straightforward abilities, which will lead us on to ability usage pretty well. So starting with DEADLOCK's barrier mesh on defense, pretty simple. You know, it's a sentinel agent. What you want to do is wherever you've set up on site, you want to stand close to, you know, or in line of being able to throw the ability into the main choke point. You know, if there's two, then just choose one of them to wall off. If not, then, you know, if there's one, you can just use it on the one that's there. And what I like to do, I played a lot of DEADLOCK when she released. I played like 100 hours in the week of her release, and then I played a bunch again after her buffs, and then I've been playing her as a consistent agent since. So what I like to do on DEADLOCK is, wherever I'm set up, obviously if I hear them running at the start of the round very fast, then I will put the wall down like straight away, because it has that fortification timer, so you want to get it to full HP max so that it slows them down even longer, as fast as possible if they're running. If not, then what I like to do is after about 10 seconds, I throw the wall down onto min, and because it lasts obviously 30 seconds, that's at least 40 seconds that you've covered if they don't break it, and it's also 40 seconds that you delay whatever they're doing. So a lot of DEADLOCK players like to hold onto their wall, and I don't like to do this because they could be lurking, they could be playing a fake, they could be playing, you know, whatever, they could be playing map control. So I like to put the wall down no matter what, just to stop whatever that play they're doing, because even if they wanted to break through the cage and try and like rush out because of the cage being there, it slows down whatever play they're doing, and it slows down the round. So if they were trying to do something sly or trying to do a fast like push, you're slowing it down, and the point of a sentinel is to hold the map and to hold places and to, you know, slow them down. So when you play DEADLOCK, I like to put the wall down anyway after about 10 seconds, and I at least slow their players down for at least 40 seconds unless they break the wall, you know, instantly. That being said, other than that, on defense, there's not really much else to it. I don't like to save the cage, so I wouldn't recommend saving the cage, but yeah, that's the cage. You know, you can shoot through it, so remember it is like you can shoot through it, so it doesn't block off them from shooting you. You need to be careful because they can shoot you through it if they're just stood next to it, shifting and watching through it, so be careful about that. Yeah, I guess the last thing to note is that you want to put the cage also in an area where it blocks off like the most amount that you can, because obviously remember there's 4 nodes in each vertical direction that are 10 meters long that pull up a wall. So you want to put the cage in areas where the nodes try and block off extra places for free, because the sensor's blocking off a main area and then the nodes are going out and blocking more. But that being said, try and keep the center of the cage covered by environment, because if they happen to be there or if they're rushing, it's half HP and they'll break the entire cage instantly the moment you put it down if you just throw it in their face. So try and put it in an area where the environment covers it so it can fortify, but also where the nodes block off extra places for free. A good one for this is on a base on, I'm still trying to learn which site is which, on which side of the map. I think it's A site. It's the one on the very far left when you play defender side, so it's that one. Basically on main, you can put down a wall that's blocked off by that box on the right, and the node extends outwards and blocks even more from them crossing past the cage and being able to look through it. That's a really good cage that I've been using whenever I play Deadlock on Abyss, so that's just one example. When it comes to attack, however, Deadlock doesn't play very well as a sentinel on attack, just because the trips that she has obviously can be shift passed, so they're not good flank holding opportunities. So the best thing to do with the cage a lot of the time is to cage off the flank. Now, this takes some practice and some learning, because obviously you can't just cage off the flank every single time instantly, because if your team wants to rotate, then you know you're blocked off by a 1000 health cage that you have to break. So what you want to do is you want to try and gauge what your team want to do if they're not using comms, or if they are, try and coordinate a play and see what they want to do. Because if you're only doing a fake, or if you're only doing map control, or if you're only trying to get a pick and then rotate, you don't want to cage off flank. Instead, you want to try and do a lurk. Lurking not meaning that you have to walk up mid and die, and you know, lurking does generally you want to try and get space, but lurking doesn't just mean that you have to walk up mid and try and get space and then die and then, you know, not have that space. So what I mean by lurking is like you can just wait somewhere and hold it and see if anybody pushes and then get the kill if they do. If they don't, then you know that you had that map control, because you don't want to cage off the flank when you're doing a fake. That being said, if your team wants to rush, if your team wants to go in, if you're definitely going to hit that site, or if your team starts hitting that site and you don't need to go out onto the site, you can just throw your cage on flank, and then, you know, you've got 40 seconds of they can't flank you unless they use an ability like a teleport or an updraft. I mean, only Omen can teleport past the cage, because the Yoru actual node that he throws out to teleport gets caught by the cage, it can't pass it. So it's like Omen can teleport past it, Jett can updraft over it, but this isn't specific to Deadlock, because, you know, you can do that over a Cypher trip, you can do that over a Killjoy alarm bot. It's not specific to Deadlock being a disadvantage, that's just something you can do to like every flank trip. So yeah, you can cage off flank if you're rushing, but if you're not, try and coordinate, because you need to know, or else you're going to block off your whole team, and then they're going to know that you're rotating because you have to break the 1000 health shield. And then I guess the last thing to note, other than that, is that if you're playing map control and you're playing default and you still have your cage, depending on what's happening, say you maybe you're like 2 or 3 of you pushed up mid and you want to go B now, you can use your cage to block off the A mid rotation, or you can use it to block off the spawn rotation going to B. You know, if you're rotating after lurking, you know, you got a pick on A and you're rotating, or maybe you didn't and you just pulled a bunch of rotations and now you're going back to B, you can also keep your cage and throw it into a main area that they push the site from on a retake. So, you know, maybe again on Abyss, I've been playing a lot of Deadlock on Abyss recently because she's just really good on Abyss, but so like a lot of my examples are going to be on Abyss, but maybe on B, you're running up, you know, Heaven is open, you throw your cage, and now they have to break the cage to like retake through Heaven, or they try and risk it and ignore it and I'll go through CT. Either way, you know, you've got part of it blocked for a bit, and you know, you at least have the information as well. So really, the cage is really about just blocking off places that people would be pushing you from. It's kind of like smokes, obviously not blocking off sight and not creating that pressure like that. It's a different type of pressure. It's like you're just blocking off people from rotating, from pushing you, you know, that type of thing. That's what barrier mesh really is. And especially because it has such a long range with the 10-meter nodes, it's very good to put in places and block off big parts of the map so that they have to break it or try and ignore it. So Sonic Sensor, you know, this is, again, it's kind of a universal thing with Sentinels. This type of thing you want to put not separated from each other. I think a big mistake that people do with Deadlock is they put on defense, they separate the sensors from each other. The sensors work best as working together to stun people in multiple ways and multiple angles. So with sonic sensors, because you can shift past it, it's not something you could just put on mid or put on B and that'll cover it because they can walk past it. So what you want to do with sonic sensors is, what I typically do on defense is I put one close that's facing towards the choke point so that anybody walking out is getting stunned. But then I put one that's in an area where a hard entry duelist, like Jett we talked about last time, Jett obviously dashes in, smoke dashes in, where you think that they're going to go, or from previous information you know that they go there a lot, you put a sensor that faces where they're going to be, and it stuns them when they go in, and you get easy kills. That being said, the only other thing I would say is try and do that, but also try and, as much as you can, make it face a direction that a lot of other people will be coming out from as well. So like I was saying, you want to combine your stuns so that it stuns as many people as possible, because Deadlock is really, really good at stopping rushes. And basically you put your sensors, they stun everybody, and then before you peek you can also throw your grav net, which I'll talk about later, that'll catch everybody into a crouching state that they can't get out of, and then it's, you know, it's easy kills all around. So try and combine the way you use the sonic sensors to get kills and stun a lot of people at once. Deadlock is like very much like Vice in this scenario, where Vice's kit doesn't work as separate. Deadlock is the same thing. Deadlock's kit works all in one rather than separately, like Cypher can put a trip mid and a trip on site and put a cage, and now you've got a lot of map control. Deadlock works in very much like put all your util on a site, and then you kind of hold like another area until you know that they're pushing. So that being said, on attack, it's pretty simple to use sonic sensors on attack. You know, it's not a molly, but it kind of works like one. So a good way to put sonic sensors is to put them on spike, because even if they shift walk onto the spike, basically the action of starting to diffuse counts as a sound, so it triggers the sensor. So even if they think that they can shift onto it and then start diffusing and not get stunned by it, it does in fact stun them. Also, they might not expect a sensor on site or on spike, so if they want to tap or something, a lot of people are going to be like sprinting elephant feet over to it, so they're going to get stunned on the spike. So obviously a sensor on spike is pretty useful because it is a very big AoE as well. They can't run out of it, so it's going to stun them, and then, you know, easy 1v1s, easy kills is going to help in the post plan. Other than that, you know, putting it in areas that they're going to push from, again, is very useful. This is more so with the sensors, because you're going to be using the cage on flank. So putting the sensors in areas that they're going to push it as well, because again, easy kills, they're stunned, you know, it's a long range fight, so it's unlikely that they're going to hit you while stunned. So easy 1v1s, easy isolation, slows down their push, slows down their time, and, you know, it's stuns. It's like a breach stun, but just it's in the form of a trip. Like I said, you don't want to be using this ability for flank because they can shift past it, so it's basically negligible, it's useless, there's no point. There's very, very few advanced specific ways you can use the sense on flank, but it's basically negligible and they will shift past it, so. And then we go on to Gravnet. Gravnet is Deadlock's best ability. I don't think anyone will argue with me on that one. Gravnet, since the last buffs, is very, very, very good. It is possibly, in my opinion, one of the best abilities in the game, just because of the fact that it's 200 credits, and in an 8-meter radius, it actually just forces everybody into a flip. Like, basically, because you're stuck in the crouching state, and you can't use abilities to get out, and you can't, like, break the effect, it is, like, you can't break the effect if you use abilities, should I say. You can break it if you go into the animation, but you don't have your gun out. So it basically forces anybody caught by it into a flip. Do they break the net, or do they shoot you? They have to choose. And you know, either way, it's either you kill them whilst they're breaking it, or you know, you try and bait them out a few shots and then just swing and kill. That being said, the specific uses for this come down to really on attack. It's very good as like a supportive ability. So like, you know, I was saying again about Clove's Q medal. So Clove's Q medal is a supportive ability that you throw to help your duelist. Same type of thing when it comes to Gravnet. You want to think about where they've been a lot from previous information, or just choose a spot. If you don't have that information, just choose a spot that is likely that somebody stood in, you know, a very common place to stand in, and you toss your Gravnet before you go out onto the site. And again, it's a debuff for the enemy. They're stuck crouching, they probably won't expect a duelist. You know, if you coordinate it, the duelist goes in at the same time as it hits it, they're probably going to start activating the animation and then get killed, because they're not paying attention to the people or the entering duelist. They're paying attention to the fact that they just got stunned and they need to get out of it because they need to fight the people that are coming in. So again, it's a very good supportive ability on attack. You just choose an area, throw it, they're debuffed, and it helps your duelists get kills, and it stops them swinging you as well when you're coming out. Easy kills, easy entries. It's pretty easy. Again, that being said, you can also combine it with other abilities. So like, if you have a raise for entry, raise, when we get onto it one day eventually, raise is very good at clearing lots of places all at once, because of the fact that she has nade and boombot. So basically, Raze is going to choose an area to throw the nade. If you coordinate with your Raze, if you can throw the Gravnet where they're going to throw the nade. So a very common one is when you're playing a setting and you're pushing A, you know, maybe Raze is probably going to nade Jen, the back of Jen. You can also throw your Gravnet, and now it's the same type of thing with Medal, where it decays them and they're easier to kill, except this time they can't move. They can't move, and they can't mobility out of it. They're stuck tanking the nade. So it's obviously, again, it's very good at comboing, which is why we got into a defense where I would say it's the same thing again, where I was talking about Clove's Q medal. You combine it with other mollies or abilities, and you know, if you know that they're, or very sure that they're going to push an area and you want to try and get early damage or early kills, you combine Gravnet with like a res nade with a molly, and you just toss it, and it's, you know, again, it brings everybody to a crouching state, and now you're just stuck, and Res can just get kills with the nade pretty easily. So again, it's the same type of thing. Other than that, on defense, you know, when, like I said earlier, when they're pushing in and getting stunned, you can also throw down your Gravnet. Now they're all crouching when they're trying to go in, as well as being stunned, and it's easy kills. You can't rush against a deadlock. It's very, very, very difficult to rush against a deadlock, especially a deadlock who knows what they're doing. It is so difficult to push against one, because you will be util dumped. This is just deadlock. Think about this. This is literally just deadlock as well. Deadlock can stun you twice and also put you into a crouching state. And that's just her. Now you've got 4 other teammates with their abilities as well. It is chaos when you try to push a deadlock through the cage, through the sensors, through the seas, the Gravnet. It's so difficult. And I'll get onto something else in a second when I get onto the ultimate. But first we go through the basic of the ultimate, which obviously, Annihilation, you want to use this to capture someone in, like, it's both attack and defense. You use the Annihilation to catch somebody, to just, you know, get them out of the fight basically, and it forces your enemies into thinking, do I shoot my teammate out and have no ammo left, or do I shoot the enemies that are pushing? Like, you know, you gotta choose. It's either save your teammate and maybe get them to help you kill the enemies, or, you know, you shoot the enemies and your teammate dies. And this is obviously universal when it comes to attack and defense. You just, you shoot it where they are and you capture them. You know, you can bounce it off of walls, and it has a large AoE sphere that can catch them. So you just bounce off a wall and catch somebody and then push in the site, or if they're pushing in, when, you know, you're defending the site, you shoot the ult and then you start peeking, because now one of them's captured and you can get more kills. The specific thing I was going to talk about is Gravnet. Gravnet, obviously, like I've been saying over and over and over again, is very good, captures people, stops them moving. You know, it's very, very good to combo with other abilities. You also can combo it with yourself, because if you have ultimate available, you know somebody's there or you're very sure, you throw your Gravnet, captures them, they're stuck in that area, you insta-pop your ult, you shoot the ult, it definitely captures them. They can't escape it. How would they get out? They have to break the thing for the net for 1.25 seconds. The only way they get out is if they're Yoru or Omen who can teleport. But other than that, everybody else is now stuck. They can't, you know, they can't get out, they can't move, and the ultimate's definitely going to hit them because it's an AoE. If you insta-pop it, it's just instantly going to capture them. So you can combo it with yourself, and, you know, if they're pushing in, like I said, if they're pushing in, you throw your net, it captures everybody who's pushing in, and then you shoot your ult, it captures one of them, and now they're all, like, 4 of them are stuck crouching, stunned as well, and then the person in the ult is being taken to their death. So the only little gimmick I want to say about this is that Annihilation basically doesn't nullify effects. So when you capture somebody with the net, or when you, like, force them into a crouching state with the net, if they don't break it before getting captured by the ultimate, it doesn't take away that effect. Meaning, if they get shot out of the ultimate, they will in fact be in the open, stuck in the crouching state again. This effect doesn't go away just because you got captured by the ult. So keep that in mind. If the enemies are shooting the opponent out of your ultimate, but they were stuck in the net still when it captured them, you can in fact get an easy kill still, because they're stuck in the open now after being shot out, still crouching. So it's still a guaranteed kill pretty much. So keep that in mind. Other than that, there's not really anything else to say in terms of, like, going into basics. Deadlock is very, very underpowered and is difficult to use, but you can still win a lot of matches playing Deadlock, and I still play Deadlock because I find that really fun. But yeah, other than that, it's not really difficult to use Deadlock. For the one time I'm ever gonna say, Deadlock is an ability dump agent when it comes to, like, defense at least. You want to just dump your stuns into them when they're pushing, as well as your net, as well as your ult. You just want to, like, bombard them with everything you have, because everything she has together is just util hell. It's just util, like, mania. You just can't stop Deadlock when she's defending if you're just rushing into her site. So yeah, you know, you want to just, like, util dump them on defense. As much as I don't want to say it, that is kind of just Deadlock's playstyle. There's probably a good time to go on to playstyle and goals per round, which, like I was saying, you just want to, like, on defense, you just want to, when they're entering, just util dump them and just absolutely CC them so much that you just get free kills. Like, it's just free kills and they can't push in. That being said, also, as a sentinel, she wants to be holding parts of the map, holding sites, and holding things. So you want to keep those areas of the map, especially when your cage drops. You can shift past the sensors, so you need to know when your cage is going to drop after 30 seconds. You want to be in that area so you can play off your sensors, and if anyone's lurking still after that time, you want to, like, obviously kill them because they can shift past it. Sentinels are map control. You're usually the last one to rotate, you're usually the last one to move anywhere other than, like, the middle of the map, so you want to be holding areas of the map and you want to be keeping space. And then besides that, on attack, you just want to be, like, combining your abilities with other team. Like, you're the last one in this time. You're a sentinel, so you're usually the last one in. So what you want to be doing again is map control by lurking. You want to be catching rotates, you know, when they're rotating, try and get a kill and then get back to your team. You want to be putting your trips on spike on places they can push, that type of thing. You know, you want to be keeping the flank, keeping the map, holding the map. And obviously, like I said, on Deadlock is very difficult because her abilities are not made for holding the map when you're on attack. So you want to be doing certain plays like lurking to keep the map. You want to be caging off the flank, and yeah. You don't want to be lurking every single round though, because enemies obviously catch on. A big thing is adapting and changing what you're doing so they don't know what you're doing. So you might want to lurk like 2 rounds, and then maybe you don't lurk for a bit, and then you lurk again, and you keep changing it up. So yeah, you just want to be comboing, you want to be holding the map, you want to be keeping the map, keeping a sight, just that type of thing. Sentinels are very straightforward. Sentinels are very, I say it every single time, Sentinel is the easiest role in the game because your role is literally to hide in a corner and just wait for them. Like, that is almost as much as it is. The only time it's not is when you want to take map control when you know that they're not close to you. So if you spot 4A and 1 mid, you want to push maybe up and take space into the main area of the other site, that type of thing. But the basic core fundamental of a Sentinel that'll get you out of low ranks is just you put your abilities down and then you hide in a corner. That is Sentinel. That is the entire role of Sentinel. And then you're the last one to rotate when the enemies start pushing because you want to be holding the map. So when you're sure that they're on site and planting, that's when you rotate. So yeah, on defense, you're catching lurks, you're catching anybody trying to take space, you're holding the map, and then on attack, you're again holding the map, except you're catching rotates, and then you're also putting your abilities down to stop them retaking and flanking and that type of thing. Deadlock isn't exactly like a huge fragger, but it is pretty possible to get a lot of frags on Deadlock just because she has a lot of like hard CC. Stuns are hard CC, the Seize is very good, it's a hard CC, and then you have the ultimate, which is technically kind of a hard CC as well because it cocoons them and they can't do anything. So yeah, Deadlock is very good at like getting kills and stuff like that, and comboing and allowing other people to get kills in that way. So yeah, that should be about it. In terms of the basics, I would say that's it, which this one is probably a lot shorter than most because Deadlock is kind of just an advanced agent. I can't think of like basic things for Deadlock just because as an agent that's so underpowered, she is just fundamentally advanced because of the fact that she just can't do what Cypher can do or Killjoy can do. But at the same time, she can do something different which is still very, very good, and that is stopping rushes. Her utility is very good at stopping rushes and, getting kills. So even though she can't map control as hard as Cypher and Killjoy can, she's very, very good at actually doing other specific things that they can't that can lead you to a win. And, like I said, I play a lot of Deadlock. I find Deadlock very, very fun. Even though she's very underpowered, I find her very, very fun to play still. So yeah, that should be the basics for Deadlock. A lot shorter one this time, and I do maybe want to do an advanced one at some point because I do like Deadlock, and like I said, I've spent a lot of hours playing Deadlock, and she is very not much played. Nobody really plays her because she's underpowered, but also because she just takes so much to learn. So yeah, but that's all it's going to be for this one. I hope it helps anybody who's aspiring to play Deadlock or learn Deadlock or get into Deadlock. So yeah, that being said, make sure to drop a like and a sub if you enjoyed it and if it helps you. You can also go over to my Twitch for when I'm streaming if you want to watch live and see me probably losing an Immortal Elo. It's pretty tragic at the moment. But yeah, that being said, hope to see you in the next one. The next one is going to be an Initiator, so try and guess what that one's going to be. But yeah, that being said, see you in the next one.